Good morning, our little elephants. Good day. Good day. Good girl. Lead it, huh? Good. Hop, hop, hop. Yeah. All the way over, come over. Good girl. Oh, yes, you. Oh, yes, you. You're so clever. How I actually got involved in the zoo was through a careers advisor at school, going, look, I really want to work with animals. In my mind it was sort of Department of Conservation and how could I get into that field. And it was just by chance that she had mentioned that she'd sent someone to Auckland Zoo for work experience. And I said, oh, that sounds bloody brilliant. And then yeah, I managed to get some work experience on the native section at the time. It just all went from there, and I then volunteered on my weekends, so I was still going to school. And then I would come up here on my weekends and just help out the native team. I guess growing up in a lifestyle block and then having, been around animals, and I used to have a permit to hold some of our native gecko species, which at my age back then would have been, I don't know, I think 13, 14. To have these sort of native species at home. I was in my bedroom at the time. And then, yeah, having a lifestyle block, cows, sheep, all these sorts of things, dogs. It was about 3 years working here before I started working elephants. Training animals, whether it was seals or camels or doing some stuff with giraffes at the time or rhinos, elephants were kind of like the pinnacle when it comes to intelligence and their ability to manipulate the relationships that you develop with them. It was like the pinnacle of a species that you'd want to work with. I think starting out the way that I did and, basically experiencing a bunch of different, taxa, different species, just really set a good foundation. The first time I met Angela was 8 years ago, and that was after all the deliberation between the governments and working through the whole process around us bringing in elephants to New Zealand. What we need to keep a really close eye on is how fatigued Angela gets, and it was obvious at the later stage of the transport that she was starting to get quite tired, and I can tell you there was moments that I was getting really nervous. It was a massive journey to get Angela here to Niue. And it started for us in Sri Lanka at 2:30 in the morning. It was quite incredible because we actually had to wake her up, she was asleep. Going into the crate, I couldn't ask for any better from her. Now I just think how crazy it all was. Even to fly back in a Hercules was just incredible in itself. I think her personality has worked in our favour, and we were going through the stage of actually identifying the right candidates that would suit a relationship with Burma. That's what the ultimate goal was, to have a companion for Burma, or companions. Yeah, the whole introduction around her in Burma was interesting in itself, and she's like, oh, just another elephant, whereas it was a big deal for Burma, but it wasn't necessarily a big deal for Angela. And it wasn't until they linked trunks through the barrier at the time that then it all just came together for Burma, and then they're kind of inseparable in a lot of ways. For her and me, she trusts me a lot, but I still think she needs to give a lot more trust than perhaps she does. But that's just a time thing. And for me to make sure that I keep up and don't get distracted with other things, that I maintain the time and effort and energy that I would have normally had with her outside of my other responsibilities as running the section. There's so many learnings going on through all of that process. And as a team, and even just the team, how it's changed and evolved over the years, has been a massive learning thing as well. In hindsight, you look back on and go, they've taught me so much about myself, so much about each other. So it's those sorts of things that you cherish, and I guess I just still feel to this day privileged that I'm one of 7 people at this current time that gets to walk out there and work with these incredible animals, and we're just grateful that we can do what we do. I've got no more treats. I've only got a couple. Here you go. I say that so often. I've got no more treats, but then they just happen to fall out of my pouch. Hey, good girls. You're good girls, aren't you?